You've connected to Cisco Unplugged.
Hello everyone, welcome to Cisco Live Amsterdam. I'm one of the Wi-Fi technical marketing engineers. Wi-Fi 7 is really keeping us busy. There's a lot of excitement around Wi-Fi 7. At this Cisco Live, we are launching two new access point platforms. On the low end side, the 9172i and the 9172h. They're both 6 spatial streams. The 9172i is a ceiling mount, and the 9172h is a wall plate with the 3 LAN ports with 1 PoE out. And it's really exciting. There's a lot of energy here at Cisco Live. And please do not miss out my session. I'm presenting on a session on Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 7 is indeed here. Get yourself ready. My session ID is BRKEWN 2025. It's tomorrow, February 11th at 2:30 p.m. Don't miss out my session. Thank you.
Hey Dan, how's it going?
Hey Ian, thank you. Thank you, Anand. Welcome everyone to Cisco Unplugged. I'm Dan Klamert, your host. Sorry for the delay there. And so as you saw, that was Anand here live at Cisco Live. Well, actually, he wasn't live. As you could tell, he was talking about a session tomorrow, which was yesterday. But we are live here, and Ian is live from Cisco Live Amsterdam, or EMEA. And here we are on episode 51. And I would like to, again, welcome back to the show, Ian Procyk. How are you doing, Ian? How's it going out there?
Really good, Dan. Yes, if there's anybody that should be delayed, it should be me on this side of the ocean. But nonetheless, all is well. This is, I guess, day 3, maybe day 4, depending if you count the weekend of the event. This week now is taking on Sundays as well, so that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a couple sessions over here, and of course, doing some video for Unplugged as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I missed a cue there, so once in a while you miss a cue. But anyways, before we get going here, I'm really excited for this episode here, talking about some of the highlights from Cisco Live here in Amsterdam. But just wanted to remind people we are streaming live on YouTube as usual. So if you are out there watching, thank you. If you do have questions, the YouTube chat is open. We've opened that as well. You can pop things in there. I'm monitoring that. We also do have Slido up. I'm not sure if there's going to be any questions coming in or not, but if you do, we can sometimes interject those into the episode here as well. So reminder, to find us at youtube.com/@getunplugged. Go out there, like and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you are notified when we do go live with great episodes like this. So thanks, Ian, for joining us here from live. So let's get unplugged here. So what's going on out there so far? I saw on our first page, it looked like it was a little foggy out there today. It looked a little
yeah, absolutely. Pretty gray. I think on the slide there, Tom, if you pull it up, you'll see the entrance there. This is typical Amsterdam weather in this time of year. So it's right around freezing, a couple degrees above freezing here in the Celsius scale, but nonetheless, everybody knows what freezing is like. So a little rainy, a little soggy, but hey, we're all inside. It's a nice setup. So
that's good.
You saw Anand mentioned right off the top there the new APs, and I just took a couple pictures of them. They're just in the hall behind me here in the World of Solutions. So this is the 9172H that is the successor for the 9105 series, and the 1815, the 1810, the 702, and all the things that came before it, the MR36 H. So yeah, this is a new guy. It's 2x2 tri-band. One of the things that caught my eye on this particular AP that was interesting is that it actually has a PoE output now. So if you need to power up a phone or something like that in a room, or hospitality type of situation, you're trying to one drop to the wall, and you can replace that and keep going.
Nice.
The data sheets are all online now, so if you're so curious, you can go look this stuff up. FYI, if you're doing that PoE out, you're going to be beyond AT power. Even though these are 2x2 AP on that wall plate unit, you're going to be up there. I grabbed this off the data sheet in case anybody was curious. But I would just take a step back. Actually, you'll notice the other one on the screen, which was the 72H. The I, and that's the 9105's replacement. So we now have 2x2 and Wi-Fi 7 across the board here for all 3 bands.
I like
That's what
the
this one looks like.
aesthetics of that too, as you can see, like with the 72H there, it mimics the 70 series, the 9170 series there with that design. That's kind of cool how that looked.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the concept, just a little bit smaller, right, than the other APs. I wish I had taken a photo with them all together next to each other, but that's the intention. And then for those of you who weren't aware, I mean, this is what we've had out for a few months now, and we've been talking to folks about and the rest of the Wi-Fi 7 portfolio. So keep building it out, right? We're going to keep going both directions here and other applications as time permits. Yeah, I think you'll probably see more from us at Cisco Live in the US this summer. So.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had a chance to do was actually stop by the NOC, and typically like to do this every Cisco Live, right? One way, shape, or form, get a chance to drop by and actually ask how the show's going, how things are running. And I think we got a video actually with Sebastian, one of the tag members.
Hey, if I could hit pause real quick on the video. Sorry, I got a question already on the 9172 there. So orderability, it looks like orderability was announced that it's going to be tomorrow for the Eye. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think I have a chart, or one of us has a chart on that. It's imminent, and I believe this is again for the like the tier 1 countries, the ones that are typically the most popular. So even though these APs all have a GPS, there's no country codes anymore. It still is done by certification. So we're going to go through the major countries first.
And I think the H will follow here soon this quarter, is what I'm understanding. So stay tuned on that one.
Yep.
As far as orderability and shipping.
Hassle your accounting.
Exactly. Yeah. Contact your account team for more details. Sorry, Ian. I do look forward to seeing always the NOC videos. So
all is well. All is well.
I know Sebastian's awesome person, great engineer. So would love to hear more from him. So
let's roll that clip, Tom.
Yeah.
We're at Cisco Live 2025. I'm joined with Sebastian, specialist in Belgium, wireless, being in Cisco for 20 years now. I think it's my 10 or 11 Cisco Live being part of the NOC. And every year we try to do some new things. This year the new things, the big change that we have is about wayfinding, where we move towards a Spaces platform and integrated wayfinding technology using BLE. That's one of the big things. We are also testing some, in one area, Wi-Fi 7 with brand new access points. We are doing, of course, open roaming, as we have been doing for the past few years, with carrier offload, which is, I think, the second time we do that for all our colleagues from US, and we see that it's ramping up completely. Today, this open roaming is also natively part of the application, so we see that there is an adoption which is a bit higher. For now, we are around 35% of users being on open roaming, so very secure Wi-Fi. We're here as a team for the deployment. We're here for a week. Last Tuesday, yes, and we are Monday. So 1 week to make the staging, and that's where we are. So for the show, we're using a mixed series of access points. We reuse the access point from the right, so the current deployment, which is a mix of 9120, 9130, some new 9160, and we have brought from around 60, 9170. So we have a split depending the area, the hole, etc., different high, refill, a bit of a mix. Yes, about 50 or 60 Wi-Fi 7 AP deployed in one area in Meeting Village. That's purely Wi-Fi 7. 9178 has been brought and installed last few days. We do have some directional one. 9160D definitively we have a list of that we use on balcony to fill in for capacity mostly in some area, critical area. 9178D, I think we had just few but in a single area, but that's not far away to be the majority. It's more an exception, those ones. So yeah, we have few SSIDs. So Cisco Live SSID, which is WPA3, right? Wi-Fi 6, 6E, Wi-Fi 7, and we had to have a legacy for those who do not support the WPA3, so that's why we have a legacy SSID. We also have EduRoam. We also have open roaming. We have an SSID for us, for the NOC team, and sometimes here and there is a high hidden SSID for some special need of TV, these kind of things. Yeah. We don't have 2.4 now, only 5 GHz event, yes.
Yeah, so like there you heard it, right? This is a 5 gig only event. If you're running 2.4, you're doing it at your own peril, and it's probably your own hotspot that's online. So there's no enforcement on the 2.4 band here.
Yeah, it always impresses me how fast the NOC team and everything, they're, you know, the logistics team, how they're able to get things up and running, and just the scale that they are supporting is impressive. So thanks to them and the team for their work.
You know, I have a slide up here just showing some of the stats. This is from a couple days back, actually, I think day 2.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things is this is a dual stack show, but IPv6 traffic is actually substantially winning out here, which is interesting, especially coming from North America. We're not used to seeing that. So very cool. I'm actually on wireless right now. You might be able to see the AP behind me on the railing up there. That's the D1 9176 that's blasting into this area. Some overhead here as well. But I'm on federated authentication. I'm on Edgerum. I just didn't do anything. It automatically connected. My phone had a profile in it from before. It's a Google Pixel, and so I'm on open roaming on my phone. But this laptop is what I use when I'm on campus back home, and it's on Edgerum. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought I heard the number of users on Edgeroam or on open roaming. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about open roaming too. There we go. Yeah, look at the segue there. Was pretty substantial, I guess. Kind of surprised me.
Yeah, absolutely. It did myself as well. You could see, typically around 20-30%, sometimes a little bit higher depending on the show. We've had Bart Brinkman on the program in the past here, going over open roaming. I did catch up to him just around the corner yesterday, and I think we've got a clip from Bart talking about open roaming and where we're going with all that on the show.
Hi, my name is Bart Brinkman. I'm an engineer in the Cisco wireless engineering team, and I've done a lot of work on open roaming.
So one of the things we were looking at yesterday in the NOC, in the other video, was just around the adoption of open roaming at the show. Kind of surprised me. That's like 30 to 40% of the overall uptake. How did we get there? What are we doing now over the last years that's different than before?
Okay, we have two very distinct type of use cases here. One of them, you probably saw a lot of Cisco ID, right? So that's like an identity that's integrated into the Cisco app here, right? This is what we call a loyalty experience. So it's like your VIP experience tied to the venue. You automatically come on with your loyalty ID. There's a lot of value for the venue because they get to kind of work with you, see what you're doing, communicate with you. There's notifications going back as well. The second type you may have seen is service provider identities, okay? Now, service provider identities are used a lot in cases where venues want to bring service provider customers indoor, so basically for indoor coverage. We're seeing a lot now that enterprises are looking at the old DAS systems that they've deployed, and they're looking at a potentially multi-million dollar or euro investment to replace those, and it just doesn't make sense anymore because every service provider supports Wi-Fi calling and SIM-based onboarding onto Wi-Fi networks with, for example, open roaming. So they're basically looking at, okay, can I leverage my existing Wi-Fi network to provide indoor coverage as well?
So one of the things that comes to mind, we did see a lot of stats there, like even the US customers, AT&T, T-Mobile, I think we saw on the list. One of the questions comes up is, how do I deal with a massive influx of users in the network if they're doing Wi-Fi calling? How do I handle QoS in these types of environments? What are we thinking about in that term?
All right, so it's actually surprising, but what we see in most customers is that the amount of traffic that these use cases add are somewhere between 2 and 20%. So it's not like a big deal. Obviously, if you go into a venue like Cisco Live, you got tens of thousands of people, that's a different use case. But in this kind of standard enterprise use case, the amount of traffic is not that big. So what is important is obviously that you enable kind of IPsec out to the EPDGs of the carriers, and that potentially you can offer quality of service there on the.
Gotcha. Anything we're doing kind of creatively from thought leadership in this space as far as emergency preparedness calling? And I noted there were some things in the Wi-Fi 7 spec around that. What's our thinking there?
So I think one of the things we're looking at is in these use cases where there's no cellular indoor coverage, typically an emergency call will fall back to cellular. But if there's no cellular,
Derived, is it primarily through GPS, or are we leveraging any Wi-Fi infrastructure to do?
We are leveraging Wi-Fi infrastructure to do that. Yeah, so we leverage Wi-Fi, FTM, and RSSI to let the device actually locate itself and then send that information.
Very cool, very cool. Last kind of question I think would be around if I'm a customer and I'm struggling, I don't necessarily in my region have carrier offload available.
Yeah.
What's that path look like for a customer? How do I go from no offload to potentially offering this to my people in my buildings or my campus?
Yeah, there's a few paths. What we typically see is that the customer drives the demand. So what happens is, obviously we go talk to service providers about this, we talk to regulators about this, but what really helps is when customers go to their service provider and say, look, this is how we want to do this, that has typically driven service providers to come talk to Cisco and say, okay, how can we get into using Wi-Fi offload for indoor coverage. The other thing we're working very closely with device manufacturers as well on kind of embedding this functionality with identities other than service providers, like the Google ID, the Samsung ID, and that are available today. And then obviously we'd like to get all the device manufacturers to support that as well.
I guess one other question that comes to my mind is around laptops and non-mobile devices in open roaming. What is that looking like? How are we going with provisioning of the cert onto the device? What is the trajectory there?
Okay, so non-mobile devices obviously also support open roaming. You can download the identities from a website, for example. And there's some work ongoing also on kind of integrating that more closely into operating systems as well, that hopefully we'll be able to talk about.
Very
soon.
good.
Yeah.
Anything further you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all, and hopefully we can do this again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So there you go from the man himself.
Yeah, Bart was great. That was really interesting. I definitely learned some new things there. I think it's interesting, the emergency location, and also it's kind of exciting to hear what's coming as far as like around maybe integrated into more the laptop OSs and things along those lines for open roaming integration going forward.
I certainly think that's the biggest obstacle for things that that aren't shaped like this. If you've got a laptop and you're trying to do some real productivity, you need this to be as automated as possible. So, what he's saying around that design and that goal as far as getting that natively supported in the OS, I think that makes a lot of sense. And hopefully, that's where we end up here in a few years' time. I think the days of clunky captive portals. I mean, there's no captive portal on this show, right? There really hasn't been for years. It's federated authentication, or like on the back of the lanyard, there's your network access information. Interesting. This, I think we mentioned it. This shows WPA3 only on the main SSID. You have to go to the legacy SSID if you want WPA2 support, and pretty high support and pretty high adoption on the network. I think in that slide that I had up a minute ago, pull that back up there. There was around 1,000 devices that were on the legacy SSID, and a lot of those are so a 10% or less of the network is on that kind of thing, and it's a lot of older devices that are here, stuff that's running IoT devices and whatnot. So we'll get there, but this is interesting first.
That's impressive, though, if you think about when WPA3 was has really kind of hit. Been ratified in mainstream and whatnot. I mean, that is pretty impressive when you think about that. I was going to ask how many devices were left on the legacy, so thanks, you already answered that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. This is a problem I think most of our folks and customers are faced with, is understanding where they're at in that whole journey towards WPA3, and especially if they want to turn on Wi-Fi 7 functionality, that's obviously going to be a requirement. Yeah. We got that there in 6E because it was a new band and new rules, and the first time, so you can kind of put the bar up. But for those devices that are still on 2.4 and 5, right, this is a big challenge for a lot of folks. So
there's always that one legacy device though that the CEO has that you need to support. So I feel for you, for our viewers.
Well, and in healthcare, right? A lot of stuff in healthcare has
Exactly.
really long cycles with
Yes.
certification and everything else. It's years before it gets into the actual hospital. Never mind
Indeed.
mainline. So
Yeah.
just show stats here. I've just ran up some captures and looked at things. Pretty impressive. I mean, in an area here where sometimes these APs are 50 feet up in the ceiling, there are some really high rooms in this facility. So you're kind of working with a lot of existing. I was on an AP that had 90 plus users here, and I'm still getting 58 meg down. It's not too bad. I'll always get questions about the types of deployments we do, and so for example, here's the typical truss work and ceiling space, and some of the room next to me actually. If you kind of zoom in, you see a mix of APs. We're running 9104s here in some areas, and then the high ceiling applications, which is the main hall here in the RAI. These are up 50, 60 feet high. I mean, you got to really crane your neck to look at them, and that's the 9130 with the two Graylings, the dual Dart connections, right? So, and then Seb mentioned in his previous video there around the 9176 D1s, right, that we shipped over for the balcony coverage. That's what's behind me actually up on that elevated platform. So a number of those along the walkway here to try and provide some infill from the stuff that's way up in the ceiling. The keynote area is another area that we always spend a bit of time on and talk to. This is a lot of people getting questions about this in the NOC. What you see here is actually a photo from last year, but the design really hasn't changed substantially. We're still using the same truss kind of layout. Picture on the left is actually the stadium antennas, the 9104s, the integrated 9130 and stadium antenna in one piece, set up on shelves in the NOC before provisioning, right? During installation, basically a week in advance of the show. And then what you see here is the typical layout of this. This is the configuration, is kind of a star shape going out from the center of the stage. This is a 360 room to about 5,000 people kind of at peak. And zooming in a little further here, you can actually see the channel plan that's in use and kind of the channel reuse here. Because again, it's all 20 megs. For the most part, we don't have a ton of channels to play with in the space here in Europe. So you're constrained a little bit more than you would be in North America.
Wow, that's interesting. So that's is that like a stadium, or is that just a flat like auditorium floor?
It's a big square room, probably about, I don't know, if you go back a slide or two here, it's that's your space, right? So it's this.
Got it. Flat floor.
Yeah, so it's in the round.
You're in the round. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big square room and lots of people in there. And of course, there's overflow and whatnot with other spaces,
Sure.
but this is where the bulk of the people congregate for this convention.
Okay, nice. Thanks.
So I guess the other thing that was talked to in the NOC video there, when kind of mentioned a little bit, was what we're doing with spaces here and blue dot wayfinding, which was kind of cool. I was able to catch up with one of the folks from the team on that front and give us a bit of a demo, kind of followed them along as we walked and did a real life actual test of blue dot wayfinding. So maybe we'll pull that video up and run that now.
Great.
I'm Dennis on the Cisco Spaces PM team here at Cisco Live in Amsterdam, and talk a little bit about how we're using the Cisco wireless infrastructure to provide attendees with blue dot wayfinding around the space. So using the existing Cisco wireless infrastructure that already was in the venue, we've enabled BLE beaconing to triangulate the location on your phone and provide blue dot as you navigate the space. In this hall, the APs are about 35 feet high, so we've got varying power levels between the APs that are up high and on some of the outside edges that are at a more typical height. On this map, I can find a location where I want to go. I'm going to go to the Cisco Spaces booth. So attendees can use the WebEx board to search. They'll get a path, but what we really want is how do I get there on my phone? So I scan this QR code, then I'm going to open up an app clip on the phone. No need to download anything. This is a temporary app that the user can open to provide that wayfinding. So the app clip is like a temporary app that Apple's developed. So it's not browser-based. It's not an app download. It lives on your phone until you're done with it. You could delete it manually, or it goes away when you're done using it.
So I would assume that's like an iOS function, right?
It's an iOS function. Android offers a similar feature. Theirs has a different name. We do have some limitations on Android with that temporary app clip, where Android doesn't pass the code we need to get the blue dot. So you just get a path on an Android, and on the phone, on the iOS, you get the blue dot. But what we have done for Cisco Live is we've used the Cisco Spaces Maps SDK and integrated that map into the Cisco Events app. With the SDK, the experience does have parity across both platforms. So Android users using the app will get the blue dot. So I allow BLE on my phone, and then I say, take me there, and I get my blue dot, and I get my path to follow.
Just hold that up again. I want to just see that for a second.
As an example, we're going to navigate to the Cisco Spaces booth using the blue dot on my phone. Is this good?
Hold it up to the camera there flat so I can actually see what that looks like. Yeah, perfect. Right there. Right.
I can hold it here while we walk if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. And now you can see we've arrived at the Spaces booth and the journey has ended. So just to summarize, what you would need to make this happen: a high density deployment for location-based services of your APs, enable BLE beaconing, configure your major, minor, and make sure the UUID is set. Spaces takes that data, and we turn around, ingest the map, combine the data with the map, and we provide the blue dot wayfinding. So we do get the question, can I use UWB in this solution over BLE? Today the answer is no, but that is something we're working on. We need to get that information exposed via iOS or Android. The Wi-Fi 7 APs do have UWB, and we will be incorporating that in this solution in the future, which will give us a more precise blue dot, as well as other location-based services.
So there you go. That's an interesting take on Bluetooth and tracking. It's been a long time since we've seen that level of resolution in a convenient thing that doesn't require an actual app download, which is nice, right? It's
Thanks to Dennis. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but from a layman's perspective, I could look at that and say, well, haven't we been doing that for some time? But really what the keys are there, I think, is that the simplicity of, I don't need to go and deploy a bunch of BLE beacons all over the place. I don't maybe need to have a third-party app like integrated here for map integration. I think the solution has been simplified dramatically, and to your point, the location accuracy is continuing to improve and make it finally a reality.
Yeah, and it's important to note, like, where we shot that in the room next door here in the high ceiling room, like, there's literally APs 50, 60 feet up in the ceiling. There's stuff down low, but it's a mix mash, right? It's not a perfect environment by any stretch. So, I mean, this is kind of what we're getting in that environment. And there's some post-processing and smoothing that's happening in the cloud in the back end with a lot of that location, so that you're not getting jitter and or the typical stuff we've seen in the past with the bouncing off that navigation line, which can be frustrating or disconcerting to some people who are trying to figure their way through a building, right? So pretty cool.
Yeah. Very cool. That's impressive.
I do have up on the screen here, just kind of to wrap things up, I guess, unless, Dan, you had any other questions. Is there anything that's come through?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Thanks for asking. But I guess that was going to be one of my questions is what else have been some of the highlights, or what if people want to follow up on some sessions maybe from live here, where would you point them?
Absolutely. Well, you can just go to CiscoLive.com and you can go in there and search the on-demand library. Now that will take you to stuff that was typically done at Cisco Live last year, right? Then 2024.
Sure.
Once a few weeks passes, the stuff that's recorded at this event, and specifically the sessions and breakouts, are available. I did take some time and sifted through the catalog here of things that, as an attendee, there's the hook for 6 o'clock here, local time now. They're officially closing. We'll try and talk. The same thing happened last year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So essentially, where we're at with the sessions is they're kind of broken up into design and analytics and troubleshooting. So here's an example of page one. These are our colleagues in the company, some of the distinguished presenters and speakers that run sessions. If I scroll through to the next one here, you can see the other design criteria. All the way from best practices and configurations. I see some TMEs on here as well. Ops and analytics, if you're curious about how to tune up and look at Catalyst Center or things in the cloud with AI assurance, you can certainly take advantage of some of these sessions here. Minsei's got a really good one at the top. Nice. And then troubleshooting. I'm a big fan of finding out what's really going on in the network. If you're trying to work a problem, how do I work this with data that's happening in real time, not delayed? How do I, go tickle that thing on the WLC or in the cloud that gives me real-time information, maybe even off the AP. So 3 really good sessions here as well. Again, these are all breakout sessions, which means they're recorded. There's tons of other sessions here, technical seminars, interactive breakouts. Those ones aren't recorded, and you have to be physically present. But these ones are good and worth your while to watch the video of when they're available and also download the presentation for offline viewing.
Nice. All right. Anything else we want to cover? This has been great.
I'm getting the hook here from the team.
Okay.
So we're good. It is 6 o'clock dinner hour here. So
yeah, it's the top of the hour. I agree.
Yeah, I don't have anything further for you. I think it was kind of a quick little sampling of things that we're doing here. We'll be at Cisco Live this summer. There'll be a lot more cool stuff on the Wi-Fi front for sure. Other things, but there's always next time.
Yeah, looking forward to that, in the future with Live US as well. But so thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Ian, for being live here at Live in Amsterdam, or EMEA. So really appreciate you gathering all this footage, being there live, talking to us, and we will post some of those interviews that we had separately just to the channel. So like I said, if you go out to youtube.com/@getunplugged, subscribe, follow, and turn on the notification bell. You'll be notified when we do post those. If you want to go and follow up with one of those other interviews that we just followed up or just had here on the episode or on the show, that would be available out there. So as always, thank you very much for tuning in. And next week we have another episode planned here for you, episode 52. Looking forward to that. But until next time, thank you very much, Ian. Great talking to you. And let's wrap up here and stay connected and unplugged. Thanks. See ya.